Oh, just a second.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the FPL Banger Show. My name is Siva. I'm joined by Sam. And Sam, we've got to talk about the greatest performance by an English team in recent midweek history, I guess. Newcastle beating Crystal Palace 5-0.
Yeah, totally unexpected, I would say. I always thought Newcastle would win, but I didn't expect them to win 5-0, especially with the form Palace has been in. So, yeah, bringing in Mateta has not looked good for me at all.
It is quite impressive that as soon as we brought Mateta in, Glasson has decided that his only plan B is to sub him off before 60 minutes in every game. After he spent a weekend insisting, "Oh, I've got no problems with him, nothing personal, just tactical. He'll start the next game," and then 57 minutes, you're down 4 goals, and then you take off your best player once more.
To be fair, he did say subbing off Mateta at halftime was a mistake. I won't do that again. So instead, he subbed him off at 55 minutes. So
Never saw that coming.
man true to his word.
But you must be feeling pretty smug, Sam, because unlike me, you held back on triple captain. I went in with triple captain Isaac, and somehow have managed to captain a player who was outscored by Nick Pope, Fabian Shah, Jacob Murphy again, and by a margin of 16 points, Harvey Barnes.
Yeah. I mean, can't complain with Jacob Murphy, right? I did think of getting Harvey Barnes at one point. I did burn this week because I thought I should get some Newcastle defense. But at one point I was thinking, you know what, maybe I should just go all out. So yeah, one of those things. I will say though, Siva, I wish I had used my TC on Jacob Murphy.
Is it being harsh? Because I see a lot of things on Twitter this week about how 11 points, it's okay, you shouldn't feel too bad about it. But I feel pretty bad. Like I feel I've been robbed. Newcastle scored 9 goals in these 2 games, right?
Yeah,
I called it right. They will smash both these teams. These are both bad teams, especially Man United. Smash both of them, and somehow Isaac walks away with 1 goal, and pretty relieved because that goal took quite a while to come yesterday, right? 1 goal and 1 assist.
Yeah, but had great underlying stats in those 2 games. So just one of those things, variance just happened to hit you in a double game week.
So good decision, bad outcome.
Yeah, I think so. And you have to remember, Siva, we have had terrible triple captains over the years. I think he scored double digits, which is as much as you can ask for, Sure, people got mega hauls earlier in the season, but I think you can't complain, right? As long as he doesn't blank, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I'll have regrets about not going game week 2 Haaland, but that's lessons learned, I guess, for next season. Crystal Palace, I mean, to a man, pretty impressive how bad they were. Daniel Munoz would have been better if he didn't turn up at all. How do you get -1 points across 2 games? I don't know.
He almost scored a goal though. So that's on the line. It was cleared on the line, if I'm not mistaken, right? So he was close to somewhat redeeming himself. I think I'm okay keeping Munoz in. For this double gaming at least. You own him for the attacking returns. And if you're a long-time owner like I am, then you can't really complain. Yes, he had 1 bad game week, but how many game weeks has he, came through for us?
Fair. And, last of my whining / complaining / recap of this game week, right? My transfer in this week. I did scrape a green arrow by the tiniest of margins. But my transfer in this week, Sam, Marco
I actually have
Asensio.
a red arrow, by the way.
Which is
somehow.
a small one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a small one, but still.
With no chips. But with no chips.
With no chips. That's true.
I used my triple captain to get a bare, a bare, very tiny green arrow. And my transfer in this week, Sam, Marco
Yes.
Asensio. I don't watch much of Villa. I'll be, frank. I got better things to do. But I thought, okay, the game's on, Villa versus Southampton, right? Had to explain to the wife why you're watching this game, but I was quite interested. Marco Asensio Villa get a penalty like 2 minutes after Rashford comes off, and I'm thinking hit the jackpot, right? Because Rashford's first choice penalty taker apparently.
Yeah.
So he comes off and this could not be better. Marco Asensio does the stutter. I'm a bit worried, but then Aaron Ramsdale is generally shit at saving penalties. I'm an Arsenal fan. Stutter. It's saved. Okay. So like, stupid ass game. Okay, now I just accept it,
Mm.
right? And then Villa start dominating. Watkins comes on, scores. But Marco Sanchez not getting subbed off. So I'm thinking, still got a chance, right? They get a second penalty. And the interesting thing is, he wasn't going to take that penalty. Like, Watkins had the ball. Watkins wanted to take it. But Marco Asensio, proper Kevin Mirallas energy, if you're thinking, like, no, I'm the main character. Give me back the ball. Yeah, he had the balls to take it. I thought, okay, second penalty. Surely he can't miss. How did? And these are both shit pens. Like, they're both straight at Ramsdale.
At least here, McGinn scored the rebound. Saved. I mean, somewhat saved, I guess. At least you got 2 points from it instead of a negative.
It is the luck of fools that John McGinn followed up, okay? Because it would have been a minus points from a guy taking 2 pens. Only 4 players in Premier League history have missed 2 pens in the same match. And just my luck that I have to transfer the one of them in.
Good decision, bad outcome, right? On another parallel universe, he scores both pens, and you have a
I
mega
look like a
hop.
genius.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my whining covered. And now I'm stuck with this guy who can't take pens. But it did throw up some interesting points, which we will flash up on the screen now, right? And so we've got the fixtures here, courtesy of Ben Krellin. These are the fixtures going towards the end of the season. Villa, still really important as we come into game week 33, could have a double-double later in the season. It's not confirmed, right? So these are fixture probabilities. That second double is not confirmed. Arsenal have a double this week. City have a double. Palace have a double. So, Sam, both of us are sort of on different chip strategies at this point. I'm on the more conventional one. Like, if you listen to FPL content, you probably know I was on Triple Captain last week. I'm on Bench Boost this week, and I'll be free hitting in 34. And in doing that, I've already committed. I have a lot of Arsenal players. I've wildcarded, so I've already got a lot of Arsenal players, a lot of City players, a lot of Villa players, Palace players. You've not committed to that, Sam. So, assuming, Sam, you aren't going to free hit in 34, who are you looking at in terms
I
of
am going to free
transfers?
hit in 34.
Okay. So,
But
since you
for
are,
those of you who aren't, right?
Because the question I asked, I mean, to make it more focused, right, is are we focusing too much on the doubles and ignoring, say, Liverpool, who this week play Leicester, and then next week have Banker against Spurs?
Who are you going to get from Liverpool, though?
Luis
We
Diaz?
all have. Luis Diaz is such a. Yeah, okay. I think you could gamble on it if you really wanted a midfielder. He's so. I mean, he's been good, right? Was it 5 returns in a row now?
Mm-hmm.
But he can easily go another 5 without returning at all. Like, he's a very streaky player. Although you feel that, this is the time now.
Nailed. They have nothing else to play for.
Is he nailed? Then he wasn't he benched against Fulham in 31? He came on and scored though. But yeah, so he's not exactly nailed. However, like you said, they have nothing to play for now. There's no reason to rotate, right? It's only the
Yeah, you're right. He was. I completely missed that. Even though he scored, yes, he was benched against Fulham. Okay, fair. So, are there any single game week transfers, right, that you would make ahead of a double game week player this week? I think that was more the general point I was getting at.
I
It
think
sounds like no.
for us who have pre-hit 34, there's no
Mhm.
reason to do that. But
Mm.
if you don't have your free hit and you need a player who will play next week, good fixture in both aside from Liverpool. I don't know, there are not really many options, I think.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
I,
the fixture list now. Yeah.
Bournemouth?
Bournemouth. Well, they play Palace, who is off two, bad results. However, I think Palace are still a good team. They just so happen played maybe the two hardest, or one of the two hardest fixtures, which is away against Newcastle, very strong at home, and then away against City, who they possibly could have won. Actually, it was heading that way up until halftime, around there. So are they a weak team? I don't think so. And Bournemouth has actually been looking really underwhelming the past few weeks. I have Evan Nielsen. I'm lucky that he has been scoring. He didn't score this week, but he did the previous weeks. Everyone else, though, I don't know. I took out Semenyo and then he started scoring. So
But I mean, they did
yes,
beat Fulham on Monday night. Scored like after a minute. And they also have the potential double down the line. It is potential, right, in 36. Palace and United. I feel like if you need someone who plays in 34, I would be fine with Semenyo or Evan Nilsson, I think, being transferred in this week.
yeah. I think Evan Nielsen, I'm okay. I'm not so keen on Semenyo. Perhaps there's past bias because I rode through a bunch of blanks and transferred right before he started scoring. But Evan Nielsen, I think, is a good player. I probably will very reluctantly transfer him out this week. Yeah.
Really? That's so weird. I'm thinking of transferring him in like 2 weeks' time, but I guess you've got different
I
priorities
still have my
ahead of
wild
you.
card. I still have my wild card. So plan for now is triple captain 33, free hit 34, wild card 35, bench boost 36 for the home stretch. That's the plan for now. We'll see how that goes because I'm looking at my team and I really want to rip up my team right now. Mateta has doubles, but I want to get him out of my team. And there's a whole bunch of players who I feel are not pulling their weight.
Mm, yeah. I think
However,
the
if I do wildcard, I can't triple captain this week. So that's something I'm still thinking about.
triple captain this week?
Probably. I mean, I only have 2 game weeks left to do it.
Interesting.
Realistically, in a double. So this week, probably.
Okay. So assuming, I mean, I don't think there are any other single game because I'm interested in. You could talk about Wolves, maybe Strand Larson, possibly West Ham. I would love to say that there is a West Ham pick out there that I want for these next 2 weeks, but West Ham have generally been awful. Um,
Yeah.
so
Potter has not done a good job there.
yeah, they're not cooking. So I don't see like there's a need. I mean, you could get say a Bowen perhaps this week just for minutes, but it's not an inspiring pick. Brentford maybe, and Bomo, I suppose, always safe, right? Bomo with generally decent fixtures if you need people to play till the end of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yep, that's right. That's right. But that's about it, I think.
Yeah. So that's the polite chat for the people who don't have free hit left. Now let's talk about the people who have free hit left. The people who have resisted the temptation and held on to their chips. Us disciplined people. Let's talk about the doubles, right? And let's start with the big question, right? Let's talk about captaincy right at the top, Sam. Since you seem keen to talk about triple captain. Now, as someone who no longer has triple captain, let me vicariously live through you. Who the heck are you going to captain this week?
Marmoush would be one of the top candidates, I think. However, I did say last week that I want to triple captain someone who not everyone is captaining. And I feel Marmoush might have high captaincy this week, probably.
I think so
So
too.
might have to go for someone more, what's the word? Hipster? Do people still use the term hipster nowadays?
I mean, I'm pretty sure they don't mean.
But yeah, I'm looking at a few other players. We can go through the players first. I think let's do that.
Yeah, because since you say you want a more hipster pick, right? And since we're talking about Man City attackers, Sam, the guy who everyone on all the FPL content shows this week, as his name keeps coming up, Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he fresh off a very good performance, and he did say in an interview that was the first time in months that he's played without injured. Right, he's been carrying an injury for a long time. So yeah, very tempting. However, I don't trust Pep. I don't trust Pep to play him in both games. It is a short turnaround. He is oldish for footballer standards. And physically, he has shown a decline, right? I mean, the skills are still there, the vision, everything's still there. But physically, there is a small decline, injury prone. Will he play both? Some people say, I mean, there are two narratives out there, I think. There's the narrative that, this is his last season. He's confirmed that he will leave. Pep might just play him every single game left. Kind of give him a nice send off. There's the other narrative that Pep needs to prepare for life without KDB, so there's no point unnecessarily doing it. Maybe, especially once their place is kind of secured. I think.
I think what we know about Pep, right? Common sense dictates that there will be some rotation. There always is. And then you add to the fact, right? Okay, De Bruyne's old, De Bruyne's leaving, all those things. And just De Bruyne's season in general. He's not been a guaranteed starter anyway. Unlikely that would suddenly change for the last few weeks, especially when you look at their schedule. It's a bit misleading because they have the double in 33. Then they play the FA Cup in 34. So that blank is not a blank for City. They're playing the FA Cup semi-final. If you're Pep,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and so that's all these fixtures are important. So it's kind of hard to even game the rotation. I'm pretty confident you can get a start out of him against Everton because they've had a week's rest, and you'll probably be lucky with some leagues because they're the first kickoff, one of the first kickoffs. But Villa, out of your hands. Okay, 34, fine, you don't care. But if he plays in that FA Cup semi-final, does he play against Wolves in 35? Don't know. Does he play both games in 36? Do they even get a double in 36? Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, if you're chasing, I suppose it is spicy, but it does feel very. It feels like a lot of things will go wrong here.
Yeah, I mean, Pep rotation, right? It's a meme, but it's true. Look at Savinho, who mysteriously, despite being one of their best creators, has been benched the past two games. And not only benched, but he didn't come on against United, and he played 8 minutes against Palace. So
That's a proper like screw you some to anyone.
yeah, and totally unexpected because he seemed like he would be starting based on his form. So hard to predict. I'm really scared to go for anyone else other than Mamouche. And even then, I think them, like you said, they do have an FA Cup game. So can he be benched in that second fixture against Villa? Yeah, I think it's a possibility.
I don't want to think about that. The good thing is that they do need the win against Villa, and they do need the win against Everton. And Villa especially is quite crucial because they're both going for top 5, right? If Villa lose to both Newcastle and City, that's like one big threat to Champions League football taken out. So City may have a lot of incentive to win that, maybe more so than the FA Cup. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm talking
It's a
myself
tough
into
one. I think City players high risk, high reward, right? Like if you get it right and they start both games, high chance of getting a return. But there's also an equal chance that they are benched in one of those games.
I suppose the way, if you're trying to make a case for De Bruyne, right? Because I mean, everyone's got Marmoush already, so there's no point discussing him. I guess the real question is, can you name 5 other midfielders you'd rather have? Now let's assume people still have Salah. Not been doing the job, but it's okay. We're not selling anybody before Leicester. Every other midfielder has some sort of asterisks attached to them. No one's perfect, right? Saka may not start Ipswich. I think there's a genuine chance. Like if you're Arteta, if you wanted to rest Saka, Ipswich is the game to do it. Could probably bring him on at halftime. Start Waneri. Waneri is perfectly fine, and then play Saka in the start against Palace. That could happen. So that's Saka out. If you're talking about midfielders who have risks, the Palace guys, Palace suck. I mean, uh, the last two games are evidence of that, right? So Eze
I mean,
probably not on.
Eze could still be an option, I do feel. Like,
I don't
don't
think
let
any.
the two very hard fixtures that they just experienced, right? Other than that, it's been good. And he did even return against City. So I think Eze is still a good pick this week.
Okay, I think he's a fine pick if you already have him, but I doubt anybody is going to be bringing in Eze this week. I'd be surprised because not only did he miss the pen, it was a really bad pen, he missed the pen, but he also came off early, right? So both those things don't really feel so good. And also, they're playing Arsenal in the second game away, which is not ideal. So same goes for Ismail Assar. Like, I don't think either of those two fixtures are particularly great fixtures for Palace anyway. And then look at the Villa midfielders. Marco Asensio, I mean, I have him, but he's not nailed. Marcus Rashford doesn't. Marcus Rashford seems to play either 60 or 30. Like, he starts a lot of these games, but he seems to come off on 60 minutes or 70 minutes every game for Watkins.
Yeah.
Started against Southampton, which was really surprising, but then came off early. PSG started, again came off early when probably they needed him. And so he's been doing well, but he's still coming off.
Seems to be a pattern, right? Like, Emery will make a transfer at the 60-minute mark. Like, doesn't matter the game state, doesn't matter how they're feeling, he will transfer the striker out for the other striker. You know, it's very football managerial.
Very. So with that in mind, right, with all these other midfielders having, I mean, to me, the only midfielders who look
Rogers.
properly, Rogers. Morgan Rogers is nailed. I mean, I have to put my hands up. I mean, this guy's just never going to get rested ever. Starts every single game. I think his rest was 10 minutes against Southampton. That's it. Plays every minute of every game. So Morgan Rogers is fine. Your Salah is fine, probably if you still have Salah. But then why not KDB? Because all these other guys have big caveats attached to them anyway. Why not KDB?
Yeah. I actually think, like I said, high risk, but high reward. And I like taking risks in FPL. So I'm team, just go for it. Go for KDB. Believe the narrative final season.
And a final point about KDB is everybody owns, say, Gvardiol and Marmoush. Who is this third City asset you want anyway? If not Kevin De Bruyne. You don't want Ruben Diaz. He's boring. He's Ruben Diaz. Probably loses his place to Kusanov in 2 weeks' time.
And I don't think you need any defender anyway. Now that Ederson's injured, I don't think they're keeping any more clean sheets.
Harsh on Stefan Ortega, but yeah, I mean, they weren't keeping clean anyway.
I don't think so. Yeah,
I mean, they have kept clean. It's not that bad. They've kept quite a few.
He has kept 2. Okay, so I'll give him credit there.
They've kept a few clean sheets.
2. No, he like Ortega, when Ortega has been playing this season.
Okay.
Get a clean sheet against Leicester and get a clean sheet against Forest. But yeah, I mean, if you don't have a defender like me, I'm not looking to use a transfer to bring in one. I feel it's a waste. Probably will have to take hits this week as well, but I'm not going to take a defensive hit.
Okay. So, De Bruyne, yes. Have I sort of swayed you on that?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. I'll go yes.
Okay. And in terms of other City picks, okay, I mean, for those who need a defender, right, and need a second defender, or those who have just really want to, swap out Livramento, get another defender for bench boost, for example, which I could still do. In that case, Ruben Diaz, are you a little more inclined?
If you
Assuming
need a
assuming
defender,
you already have Gvardiol.
Assuming you already have Gvardiol and you already have an Arsenal defender, say Saliba. That's a tough one. Do you have Munoz already?
Yeah, I mean, think of the template. So the template backline, right? So this is hard to. I gotta explain it to you because you're not a template guy, right? But the template has an Arsenal defender, probably an Arsenal keeper, so an Arsenal defender, a Villa defender, a Palace defender, a Man City defender, and a Newcastle defender. Basically, 4 doublers plus Livramento or Trippier or someone like that. So the question is, do you then take out your Livramento, your Trippier, your Newcastle defender, Dan Burn, and get another City defender?
Oh, it's tough. I wouldn't. I think.
Because if the concern about
Yeah.
KDB is minutes, right? Theoretically, you're getting a safer option with the central defender. I don't know. I don't know Ruben Diaz's minutes well enough. It seems so weird. Like he's been out of the team, but then he's been back in this last few weeks. And from what I can see, Kusnov was getting married, so I don't know if Pep's giving him a honeymoon break or something. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, but there is pretty much no upside to any of the City defenders because they don't attack using their defenders anymore.
Yeah.
I would. Is there a second Arsenal defender that? But then again, I would rather have two Arsenal attackers rather than defenders.
Okay, you've
If you
piqued
can
my
figure
interest
out,
there.
if you can figure out the rotation and stuff. But if I had a choice between two defenders and one attacker versus two attackers, one defender, I will go for two attackers.
With Arsenal, okay, that's
If
sidebar, right?
the caveat is that if the players you choose, same like City, if the players you choose do end up starting both games.
I mean, you be well, no shit, mate. But you can't. You're not gonna know that going in, right? So
Yeah, but no, what I'm saying is that the uncertainty is the same for City and for Arsenal, right? So you're taking a risk either way. It's just which team you want to take a risk on.
I think with Arsenal, there's less uncertainty over the defenders because there are less options to, especially at centre back, right? You've only got Saliba and KBO. Maybe Ben White moves back in or Timber moves back in, but it's been a really long time since either of them were played there. Like I think if you wanted another central defender, if you had space, Jakub Kiwior looks like a very obvious pick to me. I might even take him over Saliba at this point because I have Raya.
Yeah, I
Start
think
great.
so.
Yeah.
He's nailed. He's nailed as long as Gabriel's out.
Nailed, cheap. And let's put it this way. Would you rather have Ruben Diaz and Mikel Merino or Kiwior and De Bruyne?
I'll go Kiwior on De Bruyne. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. How? It's tough. It's tough. If you put it that way, then yes, I'll go Kiwior and De Bruyne because I do feel us City defenders are overpriced for what they offer you. Kiwior's cheap.
okay. I mean, you can't fuss too much about value, Sam. We're at the end of the season already.
Not everyone has your budget, Siva. Some of us still actually need to play around our team value.
Fair. Okay, let's make it fairer then. Saka and Ruben Diaz versus Kiwior and De Bruyne.
I don't think Saka starts both games.
Mm.
I think he still needs to be managed coming in. They have to make sure he stays fit for the rest of the season. So I don't think he starts both games. And other Arsenal players have kind of shown that they're okay stepping into the role. I think Nwaneri, is a decent Saka replacement on the wings. So I got a feeling Saka doesn't start both.
Okay. And the reason I asked you that, Sam, was because your initial point was you saying you'd rather have double Arsenal attack. And my feeling is based on what you're telling me as well and how I feel. Double Arsenal attack sounds really nice, but in theory only, like when you start to think about it, you would need a miracle to get Arsenal attackers who are going to start consistently each week. Marino was benched against Brentford. Saka was benched against Brentford. I
think
couldn't tell
Marino.
you.
I
honestly don't see why he would.
His minutes doesn't have to be as managed as Saka because he doesn't. Saka's coming back from a long-term injury. Marino, has been kind of playing. Yes, he was rested this week in particular, right before the big Champions League game. But it's nothing in between 33. And yeah, so I feel, looking at it, I think Marino starts both, and I kind of want to bring him in.
I can get the temptation. I really do, right? I watch Marino. It's really nice to, you get somebody super differential. He's attacking. He's playing a striker. My only concern is, right, Arsenal play PSG 3 days before they play Bournemouth. So that's in game week 35. The second leg against PSG is in between the Bournemouth and Liverpool games. So that's in between game week 35 and 36.
So you're talking about long term.
I mean,
Sorry,
yes,
I was looking 33 in a vacuum because I was planning to wildcard in 35.
well, Sam, as we established, not everybody has all these chips left.
Okay, so if you're talking long term, then then I would avoid Arsenal attackers because I think heavy rotation will probably come before their semi-final match.
Yeah, I, 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 I think like I've already got Saka, so I'm committed to him. But I'm not sure I would make him a priority transfer. I think Mikel Merino is even trickier because Thomas Partey is suspended for the first leg. And I don't know what the solution is there. Like, I don't know if Arteta moves Merino back into midfield and starts Trossard, in which case, all the more reason you kind of need to protect Mikel Merino in the Palace game. You probably don't need to play him there or reduce his minutes there. So, Saka, I'm a little more. I mean, it's one of those. He's still got pens when he comes on. You would think he can sort of make up the deficit, but Mikel Merino to me just seems like a really iffy pick because of the Thomas Partey thing.
Yeah, fair. I think, like I said, one point is that even Saka, if he comes on in the last 20 minutes or if he's taken off early, there's still a high chance that he has the potential to return. Yeah, to start to do something. So yeah, okay, I get that.
Okay, yeah, and that's why I think the Arsenal defense is much safer, although they will continue to concede 1 goal a week. That's just what they do. Even yesterday, Saliba gave a fairly stupid goal away. But yeah, Kiwior, I think really nice choice. Yeah, I think we're cool with De Bruyne. I think that's Arsenal and City mostly covered, right? Let's go back to Villa because I think
That's a tough one.
the nail picks are Emi Martinez and Konsa to me, and that's it. And Morgan Rogers, obviously.
Rogers. Yeah.
Morgan Rogers, yeah. But looking at these fixtures, I don't want double Villa defense. Like I don't want. If I had a keeper, I wouldn't want the defender. I have Konsa. I don't want Martinez. These don't look like cleanable fixtures to me. Villa don't keep cleans anyway. Who is the second attacker you get?
So tough, right? If you can stomach some benching, you have to. I think whoever else you pick, high chance that they'll probably be benched here and there. If you go Rashford, you have to be okay with him playing 60 or 30. Yeah, combined 90 over the 2 weeks, and he kind of shown that he can score despite when he comes on and things like that. I guess that's kind of the same with Asensio, right? Actually, Asensio is a bit more extreme because he plays like 22 minutes. There are weeks where he plays 0, and then there are weeks that he plays 90. But again, I think this is our Mahrez theory that we put forward. Just over 2 weeks in a game week, you expect him to play. Let's say he plays 20 minutes for one, maybe pops up with an assist. He has shown that he can do it, and then he starts that, comes up with a goal. You're still happy with the haul. So for those of you who are, this is your first week listening, me and Tua have a theory that in a double game week, players who are rotation prone are actually still kind of safe.
It's not that novel a theory, Sam, to be fair. But I think, Marco says it would be testing it to the limit. Even I would say that at this stage. Marcus Rashford, though, I mean, you got to be tempted, Sam. I'm stunned that you, as a fairly depressed Man United fan, are not tempted by Marcus Rashford. Emery came out and said, first choice penalty taker. I didn't even understand that. Like after the Asensio pen miss, they asked him who's on pens. And he said, our first choice is Marcus Rashford, which to me is so surprising because that indicates that Marcus Rashford is a first choice pick in this team. Like, it's not a coincidence that he's starting all of these games. Started both legs against PSG, started against Southampton. People keep I keep hearing a lot of confused Watkins owners trying to justify this as, low block. He's starting them against a low block. Then, I mean, Southampton doesn't even have a block. So why is he starting him then? Marcus Rashford just looks like the first choice. So
yeah,
he's
I
out of
think
position.
So. I do think
out of position,
he's
sub 7 million midfielder.
Out of position. And I do think he's first choice. I really do think so.
So why isn't he the first transfer we're making this week?
This tempting, right? They are out of the Champions League as well, so you expect maybe less rotation moving forward.
They have the cup in 34.
They do have the cup, yeah, but they were trying to deal with 3 competitions at once, and now at least it's 2. So in theory, slightly less rotations, maybe. Maybe. I'm tempted, honestly, which is why I say, there are a lot of midfielders you want. But each of it are risky, right? Like, you want KDB, risky. You want Saka, risky. You want Rashford, risky. You want Merino, risky. Like, every midfielder this week is a risky pick.
Okay, Sam, we're gonna get down to some brass tacks because we could be here all day, right? But let's start ranking some of these guys, right? I think we had Rogers and Salah sort of way out, right? So
Yeah. Rogers number 1 pick. If you don't have Rogers, bring him in.
okay, after that, forget budget. We've all got money. Silence is not very good for an audio format, by the way, Sam.
Sorry, people listening. KDB. I'm gonna put my foot out and go KDB.
Okay, KDB, I like it. So Rogers, KDB. Give me a third one.
Merino.
Marino. Okay, I like it. Nailing your colors to that mast. Okay, Marino. To be fair, the only player involved in all the open play goals in the Arsenal Madrid tie across 2 legs, whatever that stat means, but Okay.
So that's my top 3, Siva. What's yours?
Rogers, obviously, I think way out in front. Marcus Rashford, for me, number 2. I think if you're talking about teams who need to win league games, Villa ranks even higher than Arsenal. And on pens, while he's on the pitch, he's on pens. That's something that nobody else has, including KDB, including Marino. Saka, yes, but Saka we don't expect to have as many minutes in the immediate term. So I think Marcus Rashford, number 2. I think Rogers and Rashford. Then I would say Saka, I think number 3 still. Then only would I say Kevin De Bruyne. I think Kevin De Bruyne is there for the spice, but he is not there on sort of, not say on merit, but just you're expecting him to do things that he has not been doing so far this season. And you're placing a lot of weight into one game against Palace where Palace were especially shit. So, like, how often does that happen? Don't know. How often does that happen with KDB on the pitch? Like, he could play Grealish against Wolves in the number 10 and give KDB the day off.
Okay.
And
fair ranking, I think. Yeah.
I think it's telling that neither of us said a single Palace midfielder in that list.
I think we're burnt. I really do feel it in the back of my mind that we are putting too much weight into that one game week. Where if you could treat it like an anomaly and look at the previous records, right? If last game week never happened and you just blot it out, we'll still be very hot on Palace midfielders, Palace players in general. So I do feel like it's a bit of recency bias, but it is hard to ignore, when I think in the Newcastle game, all the Palace players only combined for a total like 1 point or something like that, 2 points. I read some stupid stat somewhere that's basically not good.
I mean, is that the stats? But no, I think I did see that. It was on Reddit, right? The entire players combined, because so many of them got minus points and so many of them got 0 points. They ended up just, the entire team total out, maxes out at 1 point. Which, because Gahey obviously had their own goal. Munoz had the -1. Very impressive. That's midfielders. I mean, strikers, we have nothing really to talk about because apart from Marmoush and Mateta, I mean, do you have any confidence to transfer in Watkins this week? Because that was my plan like 3 weeks ago, and I have no confidence to do it now.
I don't think so. I think he lost his place to Rashford.
It's weird. Like, I'm not sure where this has come from, but it just seems to have happened. It's not even like as if his performances are being like off the bench are bad. Still scores, like came off the bench against Southampton and scored. But for some reason, I don't know why. That being said, wouldn't be surprised to see Watkins start against Newcastle, but have no confidence that he starts both games.
Yeah. It's a really weird place to be at this year's stage of the season, where I feel that, everyone, for some reason, in these 4 teams, is not nailed.
Yeah. you would think by now we know who's nailed, but if anything, the rotation has increased for a variety of reasons. Yeah. So I mean, that's the only reason why Mateta survives another week in my team. That's why Marmoush is going nowhere. And I guess my question, Sam, in terms of forwards, what do you do with Isaac this week? If you're not using wildcard, like does Isaac stay in your team?
Yeah, I think so. He's still Newcastle still got all to play for in the league. He's
Mm.
still maybe the best striker in the league right now. Aside
Underlying
from Mikel
stats.
Merino, I guess. Yeah.
Aside from the career.
um, yeah. So one of the best at least. He's still a player you want in your team for the rest of the season. So I keep. In fact, I'll keep all the Newcastle players.
Okay, so let me go one better then. Would you bench boost? You don't have to think about this, Sam, but I do. Would you bench boost triple Newcastle
Hmm.
away at Villa?
This is an away game, so it's not exactly an appealing fixture. Feels like
Yeah.
one of those. It's gonna be one of those scrappy games, low scoring scrappy games. So maybe not bench boost.
Okay, so you would make some transfers, try and get better players. Yeah,
Yeah. If you're
get them done.
set on using your bench boost this week, right? Like 36 is out of the question for you. It has to be this week. Then I would sacrifice the Newcastle defender. Jacob Murphy is a tough one because before the past two game weeks, I always thought, he pops up here and sees a goal here and there, but doesn't haul, and then he proceeds to, have mega hauls back back to back. So it's a tough one, and I think a very painful one to let go of, right? Especially after what he's done for your team. However, if you really want to chase it, yes, I think, if you really had to sacrifice someone in the team to bring in, say, I don't know, Rogers or something, then yeah. But Isak is one player that I don't think I would sacrifice.
Yeah, I'm actually doing that move. Like I'm moving Murphy to Rogers, despite the fact that Murphy is averaging 10 points a game for the last 4 games. So yeah, I mean it's not an inconceivable thing. I think a lot of people will be making that move, but yeah, it just feels like I got what I wanted. I got my points, and I can free hit Murphy back in 34. So could even free hit Harvey Barnes. Thank you for the points, but time to move on. I think.
Yeah. So that's it,
Okay.
right?
So that's forwards midfielders. That's for for the just to make it sort of complete, right? Ranking defenders. To me, it's just the Arsenal guys, and then City, and then Villa in that order.
Really.
I think so. I mean, I would
I,
say
I honestly feel Munoz still ranks very high.
okay. I'm definitely allowing some recency bias, but I mean, -1, man, in a double.
Yeah, but he could have scored. And if he had scored, we wouldn't have this conversation, right? It shows that he's still getting into very good attacking positions. And that's more than I can ask for any other defender in the league right now. He's the only one with attacking threat.
Okay, but Munoz being the only sort of Palace defender you'd even consider, right? You're not going
Yeah.
to be looking at any of the others. And
No.
then, yeah. So Munoz, I mean, to me, if I would rank them, I would say Saliba, Kiwior, Gvardiol, maybe Munoz, Diaz, Konsa, in that order.
Okay.
Fair?
Yeah. Fair. I would put Munoz second only because I kind of feel like Saliba and Kiwior are just one. Like you just pick one of the Arsenal defenders. There's no upside over each of them except that, Saliba's really expensive. Kiwior's a lot cheaper. Saliba has more potential for bonus, so that balances it out. I would go Saliba, Munoz, Kiwior, then a City defender, whether it's Guardiola or Diaz.
I like how much like hate you have for Gvardiol, like compared to most people.
I haven't owned him all season, so
I mean, to be fair, I think one thing I will say about Gvardiol that is a bit concerning is since Nico O'Reilly has come into the team, Gvardiol is playing centre back, not left back, and his XG, well, I mean, it's basically non-existent these
Non-existent.
days. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so no difference between him and Diaz, I think.
yeah, Max Bones against Man United. So that's the only sort of thing I'm holding on to.
But that doesn't come around often as well, right?
No.
Yeah. Most
Because
games you don't
City,
get
yeah,
points.
yeah. I mean, City don't get many goalless draws anyway, so it's not going to be a very common occurrence. Let's sort of swing around to captaincy, Sam. We sort of touched on it at the start. Let's sort of finish off with that, and let's have you commit now, Sam. Who's your spicy? Yours is a triple captain, but who's the spicy captain you have in mind?
Stuff I actually have not decided to.
Oh, come on. I mean, let's.
But it will probably be KDB.
Mm, I like how this has been a very bad episode for you, Sam, because you came in like I'm not even going to touch this guy, and within about 45 minutes, oh, actually, I'm going to captain him.
Before this whole thing, I was like when I was looking at it 3 weeks back, it was always going to be Saka. But now I'm convinced that he'll be rotated. So no Saka. Not sure about any of the other Arsenal midfielders or attackers. Not even Mikel Merino, who I do think starts, but usually assist goal doesn't really haul. Not since his first few games, I think. So then, who else do you have? Right? Honestly, I'm looking at it and I don't know if it was the right choice to save my triple captain because I'm looking at the options now and all of them seem so risky. Right? Like easily could be bench the second game and then we're just gonna shit.
Well, the good thing is, I mean, if you're comparing to last week, you only need to make up 11 points on people like me. So it's not you're not chasing the biggest haul. Of course, you look across the season, sure, Salah, Haaland, and all that. Are you not? I mean, this is never going to be a solution for you, Sam. But I feel like some people will be just tempted to captain Salah. I know it's boring. I know it's like heresy, single game weaker, but it is Leicester, right?
When's the last time Salah scored from open play?
Does it matter?
Like
It's Leicester,
months
man.
back.
Does it? Does it? I mean, he's scoring this week. This is still, one of the worst teams in the division. Albeit they did.
I think Liverpool wins big this week. How many goals will Salah be involved in? I don't know. I honestly feel his form has dropped off a cliff. Not only in terms of points, but even his underlying stats have really fallen recently.
Yes, but counterpoint to
I'm
that, the
gonna
last
call it
time
now. He will just have 1 assist this game.
I'll hold you to that because the last time Salah played one of these bottom three teams, it was Southampton, game week 28. Not that
Like 2
long ago.
pence. 2 pence.
Yeah, but still 2 goals, 15 points. And
Yeah, I know.
which Leicester just gave
Doesn't
away
matter
2
where the
pens to
goals
Brighton.
come from, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole philosophy. Like pens, open play, doesn't matter. Points are points.
Yeah.
But
I
when
mean,
you have option, no one's gonna captain Salah this week. Come on. Not with the double-less staring right at your face. There's no way you can resist.
I'll be boring. I'll captain the other Egyptian only because I think Marmoush has been quite solid since he's arrived. Like, I think good for a goal a game sort of vibes. But yeah. Okay. I think that's it for this week.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So we will see you next week. But in the meantime, Sam.
Get your green arrows, guys. Take care.